Welcome back to Writing Done Right. Well, today we are going to do a brief introduction to typesetting styles in LibreOffice, so stick around. Well, welcome back to the channel. I'm Tom Morosky. I'm an author and a technology consultant, and today we are going to dive right on back into the computer at LibreOffice, and we're going to walk through a little bit of the basic overviews that you need to get ready to do typesetting. So, of course, typesetting is the interior formatting, maybe it's called interior design, for how your book is going to be laid out. Of course, if you're doing a nonfiction book, generally a little bit more complicated. A fiction book, generally quite a bit easier. Fiction stories, you just number it, you throw your page words in there, and you go. As long as you have a decent font, you're good to go. You're doing a nonfiction, and most of my stuff is in Christian nonfiction. You do a lot of subtle things with the styles. You might have call-out boxes. You might use custom fonts in different places. There's a lot of neat things you can do. But you have to be aware of there is a margin difference, for example, between right pages and left pages to account for the gutter of the book. You have to know how to add in the spaces for your titles, for all your different items. Oftentimes, a title page, or a chapter page rather, is on the right side of a book. Rarely will you find one on the left. So you have to know how to create a blank page in the middle if you happen to need to do that. So there's a lot of little fun subtleties, and this is really the first step that you do because this is kind of the big picture. We're going to get in and do the individual fonts, the individual paragraph layouts, call-out boxes, stuff like that goes another place. But for what we're doing here is we're just getting the overarching layout done for a book, learning how to get the style set up, and then you can create a basic template that you can save and then apply that to your manuscript to save time in typesetting later. So we're going to walk through that when we jump on over to the computer. So here we are on the computer, and we're going to be just looking at the early draft of Synaptergy. So I have the whole draft written out, 118 pages. If we go down to our navigator, you'll see that I have it written in parts. Part 1 with 6 chapters. We have part 2 with 7 through 16. Part 3, 17 through 29. So that's kind of how our layout is designed. Now what we're going to do here, we're not doing the full work through. I'm just going to give you an introduction into page styles. Now we have page styles, we have character styles, we have paragraph styles, there's also table styles, list styles. What we're going to be looking at is specifically the page styles. So you can actually go into your styles and hit your manage. This is just going to pull up our sidebar here. So this is really where we're going to be managing our pages from. Now, of course, this is our paragraph, character, frames. We want to be on the 4th one over, which is your page styles. Now, by default, the page styles is going to have a default. We have endnotes. We have an envelope. You can kind of see what an envelope looks like. It looks like an envelope. We have a landscape, basic index. We have a footnote page, an HTML page, right page, left page, things like this. Now, what we're actually going to be looking at here, though, is I want to kind of show you the reason you're using your page styles is to line up the overarching big picture view of your book. Now, you're going to need to consult the style guide for wherever your print book is going to be pushed to. So I use Ingram Spark and KDP. Both of those do list a style guide. So wherever you're getting your books printed at, go ahead and do a search for the style guide. That's going to tell you the page sizes, the margins, things like that. So I'm not going to be going through all of that. What we are going to do, though, is just kind of walk you through why you use page styles and how you properly use page styles. Now, whenever you are using styles, the styles will break at manual breaks, or you might say put at a page break, but that doesn't allow you to control the styles quite as thoroughly. By default, a page style will not only dictate what its style is, but also the pages following it until the next break. So if we right-click here and hit Modify, we can see here that the name is default style in the very next style is default style. So that means that if I set this page as default style, then the next is also going to be default style, the next is default style, the next is default style. However, you don't generally want to use default styles for your books because your left and your right margins on a properly designed book are different. The reason is when you are printing a book, a page that is on the right has a larger left margin, a page that is on the left has a wider right margin. The reason is we have this thing called a book binding. So we call this the gutter binding. Okay, so if I were to come up here and enter this as a left page, coming down into left page, you'll actually notice here, very next style is a right page. And the next one's a left page. And the next one's right page. Now, you might see two things right out of the gate here. The first is you'll see that for some reason, our left page has a bigger style page than the right. Why? Because these haven't been formatted. Don't worry about it. We'll fix that. But you'll also see that the margins are a little bit different. Notice here on the left page, we have a little bit larger margins than on the right page. This is because you're going to set your margins individually. Now, if I want to go from one style into another and into another, I need to use breaks. So let's say, for example, that you're doing a nonfiction book, generally has the start of a chapter on the right, which means if you're reading a nonfiction book, sometimes you'll get to a right page is going to end the chapter, and then you'll flip it over and the left page will be completely blank. Okay, this is what they do is they do this just so that you have a very consistent flow of your chapter titles are always on the right. It adds a little bit of consistency. But to do this, we're going to make sure that each one of our individual pages is going to have left, right, left, right. Now, in fiction, like we're doing here, we're not really going to mess with any other styles. We're just going to configure the left and the right. We're going to set the first one where it needs to go. We're going to align everything where it needs to be. And then at that point in time, everything should fall right into place. But if we were doing a nonfiction, we want to do something different. So I'll either use first page, or I might rename first page to chapter title or chapter page. So let's just go ahead and do that. I don't need a first page specifically. So I'll just go ahead and call this a chapter title, except I need to actually start typing. It looks like I can't actually edit the title of that. We'll just stick with what it is. What I could actually do is I could go ahead and create a new one based on it. Let's just go ahead and use the same one there. I forgot I couldn't edit this. But what I want to do then is, since the chapter title page will always appear on the right, the very next page is always going to be a left page. So we're going to go down and pick left page. Okay, push OK. Now, if I look at my code for my left page, you'll see that left page always goes to right page, and you better believe that a right page always goes to a left page. So now what this means is I can start here, and if I start here on a left page, for example, this guy's right, this guy's left, this guy's right, but now I have the end of a title here. So let's go ahead and insert. We don't want to do page break. We want to do more break and a manual break, because this allows us to do a page break and select the style. You could alternatively just do a page break and then select the next style. Now, if I go with default style, everything after this break is going to be default style. But if I do a first page, then we're going to have, notice that we go into a right page. This guy's a first page, and then we're going right into a left page. Now, this will pose itself a little challenge, won't it? Because right here, we have a right page going into what is considered a right page. So this is where I use my default styles. So I'm going to insert another page break. Let's go ahead and do another break, do a manual break, and we will do a default style. So now we should have, this guy is my right page. This guy's a default. But since we have another page break here, this will keep our first page, which again is a right, drops back down to a left, and a right, and a left. And so now our pages are going to be aligning in. Now, like I said, this is fiction, not nonfiction, so we don't want to mess with all this kind of stuff. I was going to go ahead and get rid of the breaks here, because In a fiction, we usually don't split your chapters out like that, but we do actually need to keep our headers where they need to be. Let me go back and fix my paragraph header there. That should be a header 2. And we'll go back to our page styles. So now what we're going to do is we're going to make sure that all of our page styles are the right size. Since I want to do this book as a 5x8, that's going to be a 5 inches wide and an 8 inches high. Now what I'm going to do is we're going to go through and we're going to modify all of our code. So inside of here, we want to go over to our page. Now there's format over here. You can generally just leave that one alone or, pick whatever. But we're going to come over here and remember this is a 5-inch width and an 8-inch height is probably what I'm going to do. So it's going to drop the size. Now, again, our margins are going to be different. I'm not going to worry about our margins quite yet. So now you'll see that my left page is much smaller than my right page. Of course, we just need to go in here, modify this, and again, 5x8, push OK. Now you'll see that all the pages, right and left and right and left and right and left, are now perfectly consistent one with another. But now what we might need to do is adjust your margins. Now, maybe to make this easier, let's go ahead and make our text here justified. Okay, so everything here is text body, so this isn't actually part of the page styles. I'm just doing this just to make it easier to see. I'm just going to go ahead and justify the whole book like that. That way it's just easier to see where the margins are. So like we said, on a left page, we want a slightly bigger right margin. On a right page, we want a slightly bigger left margin. So now we're going to go ahead, modify our left page, increase our right margin. Let's put our right margin at 1 inch just for the sake of illustration. And now we're going to go to our right page, and we're going to do our left margin at 1 inch for illustration. Okay, so now if we flip through this and you look at what's going on here, you can see here that this guy here, which is going to be a right page. Did I set my margins wrong? It looks like I might have. Okay, right page should have a bigger left margin, right? Okay, yeah, that's this one over here. And then this guy over here. So you can see that it's swapping back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. That still does not look right to me. Why is my brain not functioning right? Okay, I think it was because it was on the wrong page. So the right page has a bigger left margin. Left page here has a bigger right margin, so it is correct. So this is where the gutter binds, where the book binds to the center. This is where the book binds to the center. Now, again, if I want to go ahead and put in, for example, you're going to want to put in like a copyright page or something. What we might want to do here is we're going to use the default style for our copyright page. So let's go ahead and modify our default style. Also, just go ahead and make this whatever size it needs to be. We'll just go ahead and keep the margins where they are for now. And now what we're going to do is insert a break, put in our default style. So now we can put all of our copyright data. Of course, we may or may not have any other introductory material. So all this is going to be inside of our default style. And then this guy here kind of starts in. Hold on. That was because we don't have text up there. So this guy here needs to be a left and a right and a left. There we are. So we didn't have text highlighted, so it was messing up the rest of the items there. So there we are. Left to right, to left, to right. So now you can kind of see how this is set up. Now, one of the things you might notice is that our default page has a page number here, and these guys don't. This is because over here under our modify, there is a header and there is a footer section. So this is there any pages? So you're going to use this if you're having like pages that bleed a color or whatever. Transparency. This is if you have a header. This is if you have a footer. So you see here that the footer is the same, and then you can have the same content on left and right pages and the same content on the first page. I don't want to actually have those on. Just because we want to have a separate header and a separate headers and separate footers for each. So if I go ahead and do that, of course, this is going to allow a page header there. Now, if I wanted to go ahead and do a left page here, I could do this. And then to insert your phone number, or your phone numbers, wow, to insert your page numbers, we want to go in and we got to find our insert. I got to remember where it is off the top. It wasn't on my list of things to show you. Okay, under our insert, we want to go page number. Now, what we might do is on the left page versus on the right page, we might have the page numbers in different places. So it's fairly common for your page numbers, a left page number, if they're not all in the center, a left page number will be on the left, a right page number will be on the right. So what you'll see here is that all of my left pages will have the page number, but my right pages do not. Once again, clicking this guy here, go down, insert our page number. But on this one, I want to have my page number on the other side. So now my left and my right are going to have alternating page numbers around the outside edge of the book, bigger margin on the inside, page number on the outside, all across the whole book. So if I wanted to go ahead and break something up, remember, I'd have to stop where I am. Let's just find another section. So let's go ahead and put each one of our, let's put each part starting on a new front page. So we're not going to worry about part 1, but let's go with part 2. Let's go ahead and put part 2, make sure it's on its own page. Now, right here, the way it is, you might say, oh, we'll just go ahead and leave that. Don't leave that. Because if you do some edits and you change this around, then this might move to a different location. So what we're going to do here is let's go into our page styles. Let's look at our first page, modify this, make sure that our page area is what we want, 5 by 8. And remembering that these go to the left page, so this is technically a right page. That means I want a bigger margin on the left. So we're going to go ahead and do this. Basically, we're going to match whatever the right page happens to be. Okay, so now we're going to insert, more break, manual break, do a first page. So now this guy here's a right page. Again, we're back to that issue where we have a first page going down. And what you'll notice is it'll do weird things with page numbers. So 89, we don't have anything on the first page. 92, what's up with that? That didn't add up right. Because the system is detecting that this is a right page and technically this is also a right page. So anytime we see this, if we simply insert our default style, so now we have 89, 90. This one is set to not have a page number, but it would be 91. Now this is 92. Now we have a problem. We have a blank page with a page number. I actually deal with that by actually just creating a new style out of default style. And we're going to call this maybe an inner break. The next style of an inner break is always going to be a first page. And also on the inner style, inner break here, let's go ahead and do a modify, and we're going to go footer, and we are going to turn off the footer. Okay, so now I need to go back up here and change this to an inner break. Of course, looks like I didn't set my page right. So we're going to go ahead and 0.79, just align everything the way it was. Remember, this is always going to be a left page. Doesn't really matter since there's actually not going to be any information. But because it's a left page, the right margin is going to be 1 inch, just for consistency's sake. Okay, so now we have this page has no page number on it. First page has no page number on it, but now our pages are aligned. Okay, again, looking at the flow of the pages. This guy is a right page. we have to have a break. So this is our inner break, which is a left page. Now we're starting with this guy, which is back to a first page, which is a right format going into a left second. Okay, so you can kind of see how that works. Now, of course, we do have an extra little gap there, so I'm going to go ahead and just delete those gaps out. So now we can go ahead and do the same thing for the next part as well. So let's go ahead and insert my break. Go to the next one being a first page. And then we'll see if the page numbers line up. 95, 96, 97, 98. So in this case, we ended on a left page. Okay, going back into here is a right page and then back down to a left page. So this case here, it worked out just fine. Get rid of that extra gap. So now we have gone through and got this guy pretty much ready to go for your bookbinding. Now, what I'd want to do from here is I'm going to want to go in and actually count what the actual margins are going to be, make any adjustments to the margins. And then you can also do neat things like what I might actually do is make our text a little bit wider than our margin allows and then outset the page numbers a little bit from that. I actually do that with paragraph text, which is outside the scope of this particular video here. But regardless, that gets you started with page styles. So of course, going to your styles, going to your page styles, you're going to use the default for any basic stuff. Generally, you're going to alternate left and right, use a first page if you need to reset, and then create a new inner break style if you need to add yourself an extra page to keep your page numbers lined up, because your first page is always going to be a right page going to a left, back to right, left, right, left. So that is information here on how to get this going. And you can see we just did that, just showing you how to do that in about 20 minutes time. So this is actually how easy this is. Of course, we need to go in and fine tune things, fix up all of the all the character and paragraph styles and things like that. So we're not nearly done, but this will get you started with your page styles on interior formatting of your book. If you have a book that's being written and you're looking at this going, I just don't have time to figure this out, you can feel free to use the contact form on the website, writingdoneRight.net/contact. And you can reach out to me and I will be glad to give you a price quote for formatting your interior designs. And if you're interested in this book here called Synaptergy, then you can head on over to synaptergy.com and the link for that will be in the description down below. I'm expecting this book to be released somewhere around May or so. So thanks for watching, and I hope that this video has taught you how to get your writing done right.